Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today I have 3 tips and techniques to help give your face a little bit of a lift. As we age and get older, things start to migrate south. Gravity takes over. It's a very subtle shift that happens over years, but you might notice when you compare a picture of yourself today versus 10 years ago, the shape of your face has changed a little bit. I know for myself, I just turned 40 and I look at pictures of me 10 years ago. I had a little bit more of a lift in my cheekbones and I noticed that things are a little bit broader and wider here. So I'm going to share a couple of makeup tips and techniques that you can do to give yourself a natural lift. So first, it starts with creating structure to the face. Now you can do this with contour. You can also do it with a bronzer. You just want to avoid a bronzer that's really warm. So when I say really warm, it's a bronzer that you look at and it looks like it has a lot of orange in it or a lot of copper. Creating definition and structure to the face really should be done with a contour, but contour sometimes can be very cool. It has to be very cool toned. And sometimes we don't want to do a contour and a bronzer. That might feel like too many makeup steps for you. I know for me day to day, I'm not going to typically do them both. So what I'll do is I'll go for a cream bronzer that isn't necessarily so warm. One that I love is by Charlotte Tilbury. This is the shade 2 Medium. And I really love this bronzer because it can work to create some structure on the face. Now, what you want to do is imagine where the hollows of your face are, put the product there, and then blend up a little bit. Contour is really meant to enhance and create definition on the face. So most days I'll use a brush like this to apply the bronzer. So it's large and fluffy. So what that means, it's basically going to apply the product in a large surface area. But if I'm actually trying to create more structure, I'm going to switch my brush. I'm using the same product, but I'm now changing my brush, which is going to completely change the application. So I'll do a 2-brush technique here. I will use a small brush. The Angie Hot and Flashy BK Beauty A506 is what I will use to apply the product. The reason that I use this is because it gives me a lot of control over where I apply that product. Then I'll go in and blend it out with the BK Beauty 109 brush. This is a great multi-use brush. It's smaller than like a foundation brush, but you can also use this for foundation. And I will just put it in the area that I applied the contour and I will softly blend up and just press it into the skin. So where do you want to create that shape? So basically you want to look in the mirror and you want to kind of feel for the bone of your face. Like for me, I can feel that bone right here. So I'm going to put my contour right underneath that. Okay, it's going to go right underneath that. That way I blend it and it enhances that structure. It enhances and lifts the face and gives me that definition that I might be losing because of my fat on my face and my skin kind of falling. It kind of loses that definition. You lose that structure. So I'm just basically enhancing and creating that. So look in the mirror, feel where that bone is and create a small line right underneath it. Then go out and blend it out with a fluffier or a little bit of a larger brush. Another little tip that'll help you figure out exactly where to place that contour is to look in the mirror and kind of purse your lips really softly. Don't be dramatic about it, but just like a really soft little. And do you see what that does? So this is my face just kind of at rest. When I purse, it just kind of helps you guide and see where that definition should be. It also makes your cheeks pop a little bit. So you can imagine that contour is going to go right under that cheek pop. So that's another little tip that might help you figure out exactly where to place it. Next tip and technique is blush placement and also blush product that you use. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I feel like I almost only use cream blush these days or liquid blush. Sometimes I'll sprinkle in a powder blush, but cream is just, that is the key and trick to youthful skin, in my opinion, and a youthful look. Now, if you are a powder blush person and you don't want to switch to cream or liquid, find a blush that has a little bit of a sheen to it. Not necessarily frosty or shimmer, but a little bit of a sheen. Now, a cream doesn't have to have that sparkle to it because of the texture of it. It is going to give that natural highlight, but a powder, you kind of need to create that natural highlight with a sheen or a soft, soft shimmer. So today I'm using a blush by Keys Cosmetics. It's the shade Grace. And by the way, I love this blush. This was gifted to me. And I really love this formula. Now, I like to apply it in a manner that's going to lift my cheeks. Blush placement for me has really changed over the last 5 years. I used to put it right here on the cheek and then blend down and back. No longer the case. Now I'll put it right on the cheek and I'll blend up a little bit. I actually saw this viral makeup blush tip recently on TikTok and it's like, imagine you have an L and you're kind of applying it right there. And I thought, as gimmicky as that is, it's actually pretty accurate, you know? Imagine you have an L with your fingers and you want to apply it right there on your cheek and then kind of follow it up. Now, obviously you don't want to have a whole lot of color here. That'll look odd and just not natural. So start here because that's where you're going to get the most product deposited onto the skin, and then work your way up because it's going to really give that nice subtle lift to the skin or to this face. That's another great reason to use a cream blush because it just blends and melds into the skin much more naturally. When you're using powder and you're going up here, sometimes it can be hard to blend that out and make it look more natural and have that seamless transition. And the last technique is to implement a highlighter in the right places. Now, I am not someone that wears highlighter every day, to be honest, but this is a technique that can really help lift the face. Now, it kind of works in the same way that contouring does. You're thinking of contouring as creating definition and structure. Highlighting is kind of just popping that or emphasizing that structure and that dimension. So where you put your contour, you're basically going to imagine your highlighter above that. So you're also going to feel for the bones. I like to really kind of feel right here on my orbital bone, right here. I'll apply a little bit of a cream or a liquid highlighter. You can also put a little bit here in the center of the forehead. That's going to create this lift. It's going to create this illusion that light is hitting the face and just create a really lifted face. You can even put a tiny bit on the tips of your brows. Any place you put it is basically, imagine giving it a little bit of a lift. So you put it here, it's giving a little bit of a lift. You put it here, it's kind of lifting. You put it over your brows, it's kind of lifting. Just think of it that way. You can also put a little bit on the top of your lip, your Cupid's bow, and that's going to kind of flip your lip up a little bit. As we get older, our lips, it's not only that they lose volume and get thinner, but they actually kind of fall. So putting a little bit of a highlighter will give that illusion of a lifted, flipped lip. So this is another technique. And again, I really like to use cream or liquid products. I think that they're just more forgiving. They look more natural, and especially on more mature or dry skin, they're just prettier. They're just prettier than a powder or a frosty powder on the skin. So those are my 3 tips and techniques. It's really not only about the products that you're using, but the placement and the tools that you're using to apply them. I will list all the products that I used in today's video in the description box below, along with the corresponding brush and tool that I like to use to apply it. I hope this video helped you. If you learned anything from it, let me know in the comment section below a tip or trick that you learned. As always, thank you so much for watching my videos, and I'll see you guys in my next one.